Habeas corpus. It's a fancy-sounding phrase normally reserved for law school classrooms, but it's now at the center of America's migrant crisis. During a Senate hearing on May 20th, New Hampshire's Maggie Hassan was not happy with the definition given by Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right to...
Let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas
right
corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
Their heated exchange comes as the White House is, quote, actively looking at suspending the constitutional right in order to speed up deportations. Just ask Stephen Miller.
Well, the Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So I would say that's an option we're actively looking at.
But what exactly is habeas corpus, and can it even be suspended? Here's everything you need to know. In Latin, habeas corpus means you have the body or produce the body. It's a centuries-old legal doctrine dating back to the Magna Carta in the year 1215, which requires a government to justify a person's confinement with proof. In the US, federal judges receive petitions for a writ of habeas corpus for inmates who claim their rights are being violated. Over 500 years after the Magna Carta, habeas corpus popped up again in the US Constitution. It's found front and center in Article 1, Section 9. But it has a glaring loophole in the case that America is in dire straits. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended, unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. But why does the Constitution allow for habeas corpus to be suspended at all? The Founding Fathers knew that it was an important legal precedent to set after fleeing England, where monarchs historically ignored habeas corpus. This led to false imprisonment for indefinite amounts of time. To stop the abuse, Parliament passed the Habeas Corpus Act of 1679, which strengthened the writ process and forced the king or queen to release prisoners who were being held without cause. That said, the Founding Fathers also knew that during times of crises, this special protection may need to be paused, thus creating what's known as the suspension clause. Since the Constitution was ratified in 1788, habeas corpus has only been suspended 4 times. In 1861, Lincoln used the suspension clause during the Civil War. Then during Reconstruction, Ulysses S. Grant enacted it in South Carolina through the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871. In 1905, Theodore Roosevelt suspended habeas corpus during a rebellion in the Philippines. And in 1941, FDR suspended it in Hawaii following the attack on Pearl Harbor. But one big question still remains. Who has the power to enact the suspension clause? When Lincoln flexed his presidential muscles in 1861, Congress was in recess, and there was a debate over which branch of government had the power. The Lincoln administration was brought to court over the matter when Maryland man John Merryman was arrested for recruiting and training a group of Confederate soldiers. Chief Justice Roger B. Taney ruled that the president alone could not suspend the writ of habeas corpus, arguing that only Congress could, given that it appears in Article 1 of the Constitution. Honest Abe was not happy about that. According to researchers at the University of Michigan, Lincoln actually ignored Taney's ruling until Congress authorized POTUS's actions in 1863 by passing the Habeas Corpus Suspension Act. The decision is still hotly debated among legal scholars today. There's confusion whether Taney made his decision as a circuit court judge or as a Supreme Court justice. Roughly 160 years later, all eyes are on the Trump administration as they hope to crack down on illegal immigration without being bogged down by the courts.
This president has never said he's going to do this. He's never communicated to me or his administration that they're going to consider suspending habeas corpus, but I do think the Constitution allows them the right to consider it.
Oh, well, how many times has habeas corpus been suspended in our country?
Once that I know of.
4 times.
For certain. I'm not certain if those were...
The instance that you were referring to was one where the courts subsequently showed that Congress is the one that has the ability. Do you know what section of the Constitution the suspension clause of habeas corpus is in?
I do not. Nope.
Do you know which article it is in?
No, I do not, sir.
Okay, well, it is in Article 1. Do you know which branch of government Article 1 outlines the tasks and the responsibilities for?
Yes.
Which one?
Congress.
Yes.
While Lincoln may have suspended habeas corpus and Congress later approved it, It remains to be seen how and who is allowed to suspend this legal protection in a country without a king.